Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Data Dispatch, and we're talking about Palantir Technologies. That's right, Palantir, Palantir, Palantir. That's all you're hearing right now in terms of trendiness. And especially what we have seen recently is a large price increase in Palantir. Now, is this premium valuation actually supportive behind what earnings could release here in a few short weeks? That's what we're going to be talking about in today's video. And especially with Palantir, it does have a high bar to hit. We see analysts that have already made 5 bullish revisions in the last 90 days in terms of their quarter predictions. And if Palantir can hit this, I think we could see a large catalyst into these more higher highs beyond the 20s. However, if it doesn't, I think we could swing the other way. So before we get too far, hit that like button, subscribe for daily videos, and of course, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm collecting the data and dispatching it to you guys. Now, starting with the price action today and what we've seen, price action will be really important to track over here in the next few weeks, is we close at 1792. Now, great to see, especially for Palantir, and let's get my face out of the way and get back on the charts. 1792 is looking pretty healthy for Palantir. Reason being is because we had a strong resistance point at that 17, and especially right here at that 17, once we were able to break out, you see Palantir gets this large green wick candle bar pushing it, and we're seeing consolidations, especially here in the last 2 days, starting to form support right beneath the 18s, basically at the 1784. Now, will this be a short-term or a long-term support level? That's only going to depend and rely on time, but closing at a $38 billion market cap, still with the 55 million in terms of trading volume, that's about half of what was yesterday at 100 million, and still being able to hold this level is great for consolidation. Now, in terms of what we are seeing is one of the biggest criticisms against Palantir, and that is basically, you see some media articles seeing here why it's time to steer clear of this AI play, and we can't completely disregard these concerns. And basically, these concerns are the recent news that we've seen in the price increase in terms of the premium for Palantir. In the last 5 days, Palantir has been up 15%, but in the last 6 months, it's been up over 100%. So especially going back to this article right here and talking about the recent contracts that Palantir has signed, really bringing a lot of hype for the next quarter earnings call, is you have the Department of Defense contract, number one. You have number two, they're the top bidder for the United Kingdom National Health Service contract that's worth $579 million. And number three, you got this big collaboration with PwC, large firm in the nation. Now, talking about that, what this is telling us is Palantir is really diversifying its client base. We know Palantir has really made its revenue from governmental contracts, and that still is the majority. But we're seeing diversification among its clientele, especially with its AIP, Palantir product, or Palantir Foundry, the AI data analytics software products that it's selling to these clients. Now, recently, talking about Palantir, and especially with that, Palantir is profitable, and that is hard to say, especially among some of these top AI stocks and different stocks within the market. But speculative in the nature, Palantir is still at $2.2 billion in annual revenue, is great. But one important thing to really take with a grain of salt is that its market cap still stands at 15 times that figure. And after going public here in 2021, it's especially important to realize where Palantir has really came from. Now, Palantir kind of got a huge influx in 2021, about 2 years ago. And if we really zoom out on the charts here, you can see Palantir had basically all-time highs, breakage all-time highs basically here of $45. Now, looking at that, that's where it's interesting, because currently, even though Palantir has a high valuation, and in terms of the premium that it's paying, they're still approximately 50% away from their historical peak that was reached in 2021. And especially with the optimism behind its rapid expansion of the AIP, this artificial intelligence platform that is serving to bring general artificial intelligence technology to all of these different companies. Since its launch just 6 months ago, we have to remember that, is that this AIP platform has attracted more than 100 enterprise customers from diverse industries, like we just recently talked about with the different sectors that they are tapping into. So especially that we've seen with those all-time highs of this like $35 share per for a share at the meme frenzy that we saw with GameStop, that we saw with AMC. This is a very trendy stock, kind of exactly behind that. Palantir has really reshaped itself as the way that it's doing business, not just trading as some meme stock, but actually having large clients that are coming in and purchasing their products. And especially what we are seeing is large institutional investors that are making large trades with Palantir. An example a lot of people like to do is follow the money. What are the big whales doing? And that is the question. And especially what we have seen right here are some of the biggest options that are spotted. Now, all of these options here have a total trade prices of over $100,000, some even over $350,000. But what we are seeing is many options being traded around the $17 strike price. And especially with the volume right now of this 36 million, especially Palantir sitting around these 17s, it'll be interesting to see. Now, some analysts are saying that they rate Palantir's outperform with a price target of 25, and some are saying to keep it a hold with a 16. What we talked about in yesterday's video was the Zacks rating. They changed their rating because of these earnings per share revisions that we're seeing. We pop this up here. We'll go show that year in a second. They changed it from a hold to a buy. And like you can see, these earnings per share revisions right here, up 5 times in terms of the bullish perspective. Earnings per share right now estimates is at 6 cents. So with that being said, in these large amounts of options, even though you have different calls and puts that are being incorporated here, predicting around that $17 price. So will Palantir be able to hold this price target, especially at this recent innovation that the company has made? And that's by deploying these AIP products. This is literally in the last 6 months that we've seen. It's important to understand that the public has not catch this meaningful glimpse of these new sales from Palantir's recent trendiness, what we've seen valuation. Why is everybody talking about Palantir right now is because of these AIP products that are selling and also signing all these $100 million deal contracts. We haven't seen what those sales have produced yet, and we will in the Q3 earnings. So this is why this quarter can be very volatile, number one, and can be a big catalyst for Palantir in the future. Because if it beats the bar that it's been set to, this higher and higher bar that it's been set to, then Palantir could have a catalyst and push beyond that $20. Now, especially looking back at that, Palantir, and zooming back in, has had resistance at about that $20. And if we zoom out, and especially looking at that last quarter earnings before we had the actual earnings that were released, that's where Palantir was at that $20 resistance. So seeing now, and especially once those earnings came out, and this exactly happened right here, if we go back to it, when they were in line at 5 cents for earnings per share, Palantir had about a 25% correction, nearly immediately back down into these 15s. So you can see held good support at these 15s and coming back into the 17s, basically replicating what happened right before earnings last quarter. And they were in line, came down 25%. This is where the AIP platform, if it serves, and if we can capture what those sales are actually reporting, and especially with a lot of the bullishness and trendiness behind Palantir, this is where we possibly could see a breakout. However, vice versa, in the bearish perspective, Palantir could also come right back down to those 15s if it does not meet those expectations, and especially with Palantir being hit with a high bar. But it's hard to fully take in the criticism of it being a highly valued premium, valuation, considering it's still 50% down from its all-time highs before it even had its AIP platform. So that's kind of the point and the opinion that I'm sitting at right now, especially with Palantir. And with implied volatility, talking about that, October 13th has really been a big date for Palantir. That's just in a few days because we have a lot of options that are being traded among this time, and especially with about that $17 to $18 strike price. That's being one of the highest sought off options right now. So Palantir, a big day ahead of itself, but it really will be interesting to see what happens in the next few weeks in terms of volatility. And we also have to take into effect the conflict that we have going on right now between between Israel and that's a big conflict, because what we have seen, remember we saw that 5% increase a few days ago, that was because of demand for these AIP products that can help with data analytics software. So different things can have large fluctuations that are really impacting Palantir. And that's what we've seen in the past. We also have interest rates, inflation, consumer price index, things like that are really going to make a large influx in the economy. And if the economy does go down, you do have more speculative, higher traded, higher volatile tech stocks that do take a beating first. So we do need to understand that with a grain of salt. But otherwise, I'll catch you guys later. Peace out. Take care. Have a great day.